Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you that are really good with design and styling things, or maybe are really creative, are looking at me right now and thinking that I suck at this. And you're actually kind of right. I'm not super creative. But I do know how to make things look nicer than I'm actually making them look right now. I'm just giving you a quick fundamental overview of how each of the specifics of HTML and CSS work when you interact them with each other, when they work in conjunction. But one thing that I really haven't hit on at all is colors. And really nice colors can add a beautiful touch to any page. So if you look here, I'm giving colors like purple, red, red, light blue, but these aren't the only options we have. What if you want to pick a color that's kind of in between? Well, there's a really easy way to do it. Yes, that's right. We have two different ways of specifying colors that we're going to use pretty frequently in CSS. Those two different kinds of colors, I'm just going to make a little note here. Colors, we can use, let's see, hex colors, and we can use RGB or RGBA. And then we can also just type it out as text. Something like red, blue, etc. RGB, does anyone know what RGB stands for? Red, green, blue. And when we say RGB, we have to pick a number between 0 and 255 for each of these. And it will give us how much red, how much green, and how much blue. So an example might be, instead of light blue, I'm going to say RGB, and then for red, I'm going to give it 0. And you'll notice that the color of my background immediately changed. For green, I'm going to say 120. And for blue, I'm going to say 220. Now I can change the color of my background much, much easier by specifying exactly what shades of red, green, and blue I want. But there's actually one more thing I can do to change the way the color appears on the page. There's this last little selector called Opacity, which is known as the alpha component. And we could say that's like 0.5, 0.1, or just 1. Any of these RGBA, like that. And if I do that, I can specify how intensely I want it to appear. So there you can see it's a light blue, darker, 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 and every time I make the color closer to 1, it gets closer to its true value. This is known as opacity. Opacity is how see-through is it? How transparent is it? So RGBA is really good if you want to make something have a color appear, but it to be pretty transparent. But if you want to select just a color, we use what's known as Hex Colors. And I'm actually going to go onto Google right now and search up Hex Colors, because I rarely know a hex color. I just look them up on the internet. So here, you can see hex color codes compared right next to the RGB color code. And this is really useful. Hex color codes work a little differently. You start with a hashtag, and then you have 6 numbers. Each of those numbers corresponds in the same way to red, green, and blue, except instead of using 0 to 255, and this is a little funky, you start at 0 and it goes, 0 is the smallest, and F would be the highest. So you'll notice here that black would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Red would have the R color, 255 for RGB, or it would have double Fs here for hex. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of how hex works, but basically you should know it's kind of like a deck of cards. So if you look at a deck of cards, when you deal with hex colors, you know how they go like 2, 3, 4, all the way up to Jack, Queen, King, Ace? That's kind of how I think of hex colors. They go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then when it gets here, it starts at A, B, C, D, E, and F. And if you actually number these out, this will be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I think I did that wrong. I think but it's okay. You kind of get the picture, right? It goes all the way up to, it's supposed to go all the way up to 16. And I don't know this very well because I just kind of use it and it's worked out well for me. But you can look this up. There are specifics on it. I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert on colors. Like I said, this is not my best point. But I rely on a lot of pre-made styles and pre-made colors to make things look really nice. On top of that, one thing I always recommend doing if you're first learning this stuff is look at a palette, a hex color palette. And what palettes do is they give you a bunch of colors that work really well with each other. Like I said, I don't need to know too much about how color combinations work out. I rely on experts on the internet to show me some great colors, and then I pick the ones that align with my taste. So right here, I know some of these have some funny names, but if you want to pick a color code like leatherback turtle, that's interesting, or mountain gorilla, or South China tiger, experts in color theory have already picked out these color palettes for you, so you can, her hips, that's an interesting one. You aren't the one who has to walk home alone. I don't even know what this is referring to. But these are fun. Find some ones that align with the things you like. Here's the Google one. I think Google has a great color scheme. They do a really nice job with design. And if you want to actually look up Google's color themes, you can look up material design color themes. And material design is the guideline for color according to the Google standards, the way Google does their styles. So you can see at material.io, they have guidelines about how to create colors. And I'm telling you, this style guide is so long. You could spend hours reading through all these giant guidelines on how to do styles. But I love their color palettes. So come here, they'll give you the hex code for any of the colors you want to pick from. And you can apply them. So if I want to pick light blue, you can apply them by simply selecting the hex code right here and pasting it in where you had your RGBA or your actual color, and bam. Now I have my light blue there with a specific light blue designated by my hex code. So hex, you specify with a hashtag, and then the red, the green, and the blue. So that's a little quick overview on how colors work, so that you can kind of figure out the color that you want to use most and apply it to whatever section of your page you want. Now, that's a lot of stuff for now, but that should give you enough tools to start to put together a page that works the way you want it to work. Now, we're going to get into some more advanced styling and layout stuff, and then we're going to move into front-end frameworks like Bootstrap and Material Design, which do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And that's when things get really, really cool. So I'm going to end this video for now, and we'll talk about that in the next one.